Welcome to a pivotal moment in the world of broadcast as we proudly present the Men's Mental Health Show featuring the renowned Larry Mabry in collaboration with the Maassen Group. This essential exploration of men's mental health wouldn't be possible without the invaluable support of Rainier Avenue Radio World. Now, let's dive into this crucial conversation with Larry Mabry and the Maassen Group. Your mental well-being matters. Here's Larry Mabry.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, guys? Happy New Year. Happy New Year. For those individuals who celebrated a new year, got a special treat for you guys. I believe it was episode 42. For those individuals that chimed in, we had a special guest, Andrew Mead. Well, today we have
and so like kids are loud.
Yeah, of course, they're gonna be playing around. Yeah, so today we brought our friend Andrew today, a transformational holistic leader, practitioner, and we're going to bring him on today and flip it up a little bit. So just curious to see what you guys are thinking. So Andrew, how you doing there, bro?
Oh man, I'm just glad it's not raining like last time. I'm feeling good. Yeah, it's been a minute, and I just after watching the show again a few times, I was thinking to myself, we should flip the script. We should turn the tables and let me interview you about some of the same topics, healing the father wound. So I'm really excited that you were willing to do it.
Yeah. Actually, I thought it was a good idea. I always talk to my viewers as far as, new year, new you. And so, for those people that tapped in last time, we did talk about the father wound. And so, and I think some of the individuals know too that I lost my stepdad not too long ago. And so I think it's perfectly good timing to kind of talk about that. Especially as we transition to the new year too. So I'm excited about that. So,
yeah. Well, I want to start just by saying that since we connected, which is only like 4 months ago, maybe? No, July. I guess
July, yeah.
6 months. Yeah.
6 months, yeah.
About 6 months ago, I've thought a lot more about my own mental health and done some deep, dives into it. I think that interview was timely for sure. And I'm so grateful that, we got to do it together. And so I just wanted to kind of hear your story about some of the similar topics. And that, podcast was a perfect chance to do it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm great. I'm glad it was very beneficial. I thought that it was pretty cool too. And I would say personally, just kind of getting to know and kind of connecting with you through the past 6 months, it's just been awesome, right? We've had some pretty deep conversations. That's kind of allowed me to kind of process some things within myself and become just a better person. And, for those individuals or the viewers always talk about making sure you have that Jedi Council, I would definitely consider you definitely one of my Jedi Council members. And for those people who don't know, you always have to have some people around you that kind of keep you accountable, kind of keep things honest, kind of keeping you with those real conversations with yourself so that you can grow. And so I definitely would say that you're one of those people that kind of helped me grow. So thank you for that too.
Yeah. Well, it's tough to find other guys that are willing to go deep, have the conversations.
Yeah.
Remind me that I'm a Scorpio and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly. Go deep.
Yep.
Appreciate
that.
For sure.
So,
okay.
Well,
cool.
do you remember what was your takeaway or what was kind of like to start, since this is episode 49?
Yeah.
7 times 7. We have a special number for episode 49, Father Wound Part 2.
Okay.
What were the things that you recall from kind of that episode 42, the Healing the Father Wound 1?
Oh, well, I would say one of the things that resonated with me with that episode was when you talked about kind of the transition you went through with your father. And then when you kind of went back and connected with him, you realized that, you accepted him where he was, and you realized you changed, right? I think that was really powerful for me. Yeah, very powerful. I think for myself, my real dad is still alive. And I would say, well, when I was younger, the father, he wasn't really around. My stepdad was around mostly. But when my stepdad passed away, it was a challenge because my stepdad and my father were really close. And so he didn't have a problem with him coming to the funeral, which was fine. But my stepdad, or my real dad, had he was amputated. His leg was amputated during COVID, and so he has to get around in a wheelchair. So when I went to go pick him up, I'll put him in the vehicle, kind of move him around. And so, I had to really do a lot to kind of help him, which, all sons would do, no problem. But I realized that during that time when by he, I mean my stepdad passed away and I was with my real dad, I was kind of struggling with some emotions, right? Because it was like my real dad, he meant well, but he didn't really raise me, right? But then my stepdad was like there. And so, I was going through a couple things and I remember having a conversation with my real dad and I was like, wow, and my real dad was like, I feel you, son. It's okay to, be, authentic. And I was looking at him like, bro, like, you don't understand, like, and I couldn't like come at him hasty because, I love my dad. But I was internally struggling, right? I was like, oh, there's some stuff going on. And you and I always talk about being authentic. And so honestly, I was like, dude, like, why is it that my stepdad left, but then you here type vibe? Just keeping it 100, right?
Yeah.
Not that I would ever really want something from my real dad, but these are thoughts that went through because I felt like he was there. And my real dad was not. But I didn't tell him this, but I was just feeling all these emotions. And I kind of worked through it. My dad and I were cool, but when I dropped him off, it was just a long drive back to my mom's spot. And so that experience, I would say my dad and I are closer now. I mean, we still working through some things. But I looked at it as a blessing, that my real dad is still here. And the lessons I learned, from my stepdad, take those on as a legacy. And I also realized that my real dad did the best he could with what he knew, right? And so learning how to not judge that, and just be open to it, accept it, and not to project kind of my insecurities on him. And so we talk, have conversation, but that was like a challenge. I would say I'm a little bit stronger with that now, but initially I was like, man, I was feeling these feelings.
I remember you telling me about it after the show, right on the street, right there. You were like, that was not fun.
It was not a good experience.
And you didn't expect him to change to what you needed. You realized you had to do what you
my internal work. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I totally respect about you is it comes, back to you.
Yeah. You
can ask for what you need from another relationship, but it's really up to them what they're going to do and how they're going to show up. How they show up.
Yeah.
So, this is a great way to kick it off, man. You just dove right into the meat of the father wound. We got two fathers that raised you on some level.
Yeah.
And then one that you've lost on this plane.
Yeah.
And one that you still, talk to, have a relationship with, which is great.
Yeah.
It's open because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, we're good. Actually, we talk. I accept him where he's at. Right. I still love him. I forgave him. He did what he could do where he was. And ironically, had a conversation with my mother and she had talked about that, my dad had some mental issues too, which kind of gave me other insight. And so because I work in the mental health, then it just kind of gave me more compassion because, I realized why she left him. Right. And so it all kind of unfolded. Right. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so when I understood, but at the same time, my mom demonstrated unconditional love towards him too. And so it was like she taught me through her active example, like, okay, yeah, that's your dad. We had some challenges, but I still love him. So whatever he needs, we got him. And I'm like, wow. So for me, that was like a huge revelation as well, and helped me understand that was a Larry problem that I had to work through. That wasn't anybody else's issue, right? And just being honest, like, okay, this is what it is, and just kind of working through that.
Yeah.
that situation.
And does your dad know that you have a show that's on men's mental health?
It's a good question. My dad is like in his 70s. You know what? I don't think I ever told him. I did actually tell my mother, and I sent her one of the shows that we did in the past. And she really, really enjoyed it. But ironically, my dad, him and technology is, I don't know, it's like Achilles heel.
Oh,
So, but you know what? It was weird. And he has like a flip phone.
yeah.
And so I don't even know if he would be able to check out a video unless I showed him on my phone. But you know what? That's a good idea. I may at some point say, hey, check out this video, whatever, and kind of see.
Oh man, you can make it happen. Computer, laptop. You can even just hold your phone to the recording, and then he can listen on his phone.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I didn't think about that, but you're right. Yeah,
hopefully he can watch the live feed. I mean, the video recording to see the facial expressions.
Yeah, I think he'll appreciate that.
And then follow up to that is, would you ever consider inviting him as a guest on your show to talk about mental health?
Wow, that would be powerful. Man, that's powerful. You know what? I would be open to that. My only thing is my dad's in Michigan, and so we would probably need to do something.
That's bedtime.
Virtual.
8:30.
Yeah, like right now. Okay. Yeah, so they're 3 hours ahead. So it's like what, 8:41. He probably chilling, sleeping. But we could probably coordinate it, but
interesting. We
would just need to maybe do a virtual or something. I would probably need to connect with him in Michigan first and set it up, connect with our friend Daniel and make it happen.
One step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time though. Yeah.
Right on. Well, let's maybe just back up a little bit from the story, only because I think we want to orient, any viewers to the father wound and just sort of I talked a little bit about, at least for me, recapping episode 42 was that my understanding of the father wound is that you didn't get some of your basic emotional and sometimes even physical needs met, of affirmation, affection, allowing you to be who you are, things like that.
Acceptance,
and then
I think was
acceptance. Yeah. But then you go and you try to get it out in the world from other people and outside of yourself instead of internally, because you have this script, that is running based on maybe the way your father showed up. Yeah. Right. And so you compensate in the world. And so that was kind of my general understanding. I've thought a lot about it since these last 2 months. So what's your understanding? How would you describe the father wound?
I would say basically the wound that you get from not having a healthy relationship with your dad, and kind of based on those examples, like you say, you basically kind of go out in the world to try to find those types of emotional connections to kind of fill that wound. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it could show up in addiction, it could show up in overgiving. It can show up in different ways. It could show up in aggression, right? Or certain types of addictions, right? And so I would say, like, coming to an understanding of that and kind of working through that wound, I think is kind of how I would look at it. And it's interesting. We were talking about this because like people express it differently. And I was recently listening to, I love rap. And so I was listening to, I like all music, but rap specifically. But I was listening to a young lady, talking about like the issue she had with her father. And it was like airing your dirty laundry, right? But for me, it was really interesting because on one level, she was kind of airing it, but on another level, the fact that she was like there, it was like empowering. Yeah. Right. To acknowledge it. And so I would say, there's variations of that too, right? like speaking up about certain things, right? That you may have felt that you weren't heard on, or, you may have needed support with, or something like that too. Yeah. That's
powerful acknowledgement, man. I think, what is the James Baldwin quote? Not everything that you like face it can be healed, but anything that you want to heal has to be faced.
Yeah.
On those lines.
Yeah.
It's scary,
Yes.
and there's a reason why we're talking about this in our 50s.
Yeah.
As
We're
I
still
just had a
working through
birthday, you got one coming
it.
up.
Yeah, we're still working through it. So
Still working through
we're
it.
showing the courage.
That's right. So how has that played out like in your life? I mean, what are some of the examples or signposts that you recognize this father wound just in yourself?
I would say it's shown up in a couple situations, mostly like relationships. But I would say like confidence, like trying to determine like where I am on the spectrum as far as the confidence piece, but also too like within relationships, within like coworkers or business, personal, professional type of thing. Like it can show up in different ways. I would say my father, my real father, I would say growing up, he had some anger issues. And it expressed in different ways. Whereas my stepfather, he was extremely controlled. Like I think I may have seen him get mad like twice in my life.
Wow.
Like just was so smooth with his managing his emotions, right? And not to say he didn't get mad, but like we rarely saw it. Like he was, just I felt like he was mature in terms of knowing, and he was a teacher too. So I think he knew that as a teacher, and by us, I mean myself and my two sisters, looking at him, like he knew that my real dad was aggressive. And I think my mom and him had a conversation like, look, we can't have that. So he knew emphatically to always kind of have it under control. And so I feel like that part like helped me kind of understanding the emotions part. But also too, like realizing that, you just can't go out here acting a fool in order to get your needs met. But also too, like in relationships, like knowing when to step up as a man, like, cause I would say in Detroit, you have some very, very interesting females. And so not expressing yourself could be catastrophic. So you had to kind of stand up to certain females because Detroit is a different spot. I would say more proactive than Washington State. Okay. So if you didn't speak up,
proactive, I like
yeah, proactive, yeah.
Okay.
So if you ain't speak up, you was gonna get got. So you had to speak your truth. And so otherwise you was gonna get bulldozed. And
sounds like we're gonna talk more about this offline.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Getting bulldozed wasn't the option.
Okay.
So yeah. So with that being said, I kind of learned to speak up for myself in certain situations, and then I kind of learned how to communicate my thoughts, more intuitively, right? And ironically, like I would say, through the years, my intuition has gotten like more refined because I think as I healed some of those particular traumas or wounds, I think I kind of got more in tune within myself. And it was always there, but I feel like when you're growing up, sometimes you second guess yourself. So you don't listen to that little voice.
Right.
And so now I feel like I pretty much listen to the little voice all the time.
Yeah. I think I've heard you call it Little Larry.
Yeah, Little Larry, exactly. Little Larry. And for those people that don't know, when I speak to my clients, I talk about, their inner child, right? So connect with their inner child.
Yeah, the inner child knows. Like,
exactly.
And sometimes it's scared to come out and speak its truth. And
exactly.
So you gotta get quieter to listen, especially in our digital age.
Yes.
So I love that you're describing kind of where I got to with my dad was like, I realized he's not going to change.
Yeah.
And I had to give myself that affection, the appreciation,
All
the
of that.
acknowledgement.
All of that.
Right. I needed to allow myself more grace, more freedom.
Yeah.
So I hear that consistently, but what were some of the things you appreciate about your father, your relationship with your dad?
Oh my goodness. I would say the thing that I love about my dad, my real dad, is his kindness. I'm realizing it now that it's unfortunately in the world that we live in, you know, kindness can be misunderstood or misinterpreted as weakness. You know, my dad's a Pisces, and so that unconditional love is so prevalent, very unconditionally loving. However, I realize that if you don't have the boundaries with that, it could be catastrophic. Otherwise, people can just bulldoze you. But I would say very loving person. I would also say I appreciate his love for music. You know, I connect and resonate with music. I said earlier that I like rap, but I like all music. But I like specifically rap or R&B because there's a realness to it, you know, as far as the emotional aspect, but also to the stories behind it. I just feel like it resonates with me really well.
Sure.
And it can kind of help you through some challenges too, right?
Right. Music therapy is
music therapy. There you go. There you go.
When I notice my thoughts start going downhill in the morning, I go right to the music.
Yeah. And there's certain artists I get caught up with. So that just really kind of motivate me through.
Yeah.
And I would also say like, you know, one thing about my dad too that is interesting is his imagination. Yeah, I mean his imagination is so vast. I'm very thankful for that because I feel like, you know, he's kind of given me that vision to be very imaginative, and it's crazy because like there's one level of having a imagination that can be considered, you know, crazy, but then like I mean there's a lot of things that people built with their imaginations too, right? So it's like a kind of double-edged sword, but I appreciate the fact that, you know, he's helped me like imagine some things and see things, which to me I feel like that's a huge gift.
Yeah.
So I'm very appreciative for that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's easy to forget sometimes when you feel the neglect or the, you know, missing, but what were some of the missings? It's hard to remember the good stuff, but when you take time, you actually do. They start coming. But what were some of the missings or gaps in the relationship?
The gaps? Well, I would say one of the biggest gaps, you know, he wasn't around when I was younger. So my stepdad was pretty much there. So sometimes I had to kind of fend for myself. But ironically, like I feel like I'm stronger for it now. You know, going through it, you know, you don't realize that, but I feel like I have no problem being by myself, doing stuff by myself. I'm cool with I'm cool with that. And it's interesting because I feel like sometimes society and culture and people will try to use that against you. But to me, I laugh because I'm like, I'm cool with myself. Like I'm already cool. So really nothing. So people don't really have power if you don't give them that power, right?
Sure.
And so once I kind of healed that aspect and I realized that, you know, he did the best he could. There's no judgment. It is what it is. You know, then I'm able to just kind of keep on and move on and be okay with it. So I would say that's like been the biggest thing.
You talked about other men or in particular your stepdad and what he did provide for you in terms of affirmation and approval for your own like personal growth and development. What is it that you appreciate about what you gleaned from him in that relationship towards your own personal development?
Wow, that's a good question. So I would say the biggest thing that I gleaned from my stepdad would be consistency. You know, here I had a man that came in my life when I was 5 years old. He made a commitment to my mom. He honored it to death do you part. That's to me very honorable. Through thick and thin, through all the challenges, you know, when you grow up with a dad that left, you know, and then you see a man that is a man of his word, and everything he said he was going to do, he did. I mean, he wasn't perfect. We all aren't, but if I needed something, he had my back. I appreciate him showing me that mirror. He genuinely loved my mother. Everything he did was because he honored and loved my mother as well as ourselves. When he introduced us in front of people, it was never, this is my stepson, this is my son.
Wow.
And so he, to me, exemplified epitome of love, like through his actions. And so I'm very thankful for that, because I feel like I can take that and share that with the world. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a great place to end on. Yeah, man. Well, we're gonna have to part 3.
Yeah, I want to say I appreciate you so much, Andrew, for bringing us up to this particular situation here with interviewing myself. This was cool. I appreciate this. And so real quick, DJ Nasty Ness, tribute marathon is going to be the Saturday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. at Rainier Avenue Radio. Guest star DJ mixes all day. Live dedication special at 5 o'clock with special guests. Also, too, next 6 o'clock, Living Better Together and Living Powerfully. Make sure you guys tune in to Dr. Tracy Harrell. You guys reach out, let me know what you guys thought about this. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys next week. Appreciate you guys, Andrew, for being here. Awesome questions. And you guys chime in, let me know what you think, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.